Have you ever caught yourself wondering, whose voice is speaking inside your head? Is it truly yours, or a chorus stitched together from countless unseen others? You scroll through a flood of images, memes, phrases, and personalities, yet somehow, those fragments start to feel like parts of yourself. Where does your I end and the collective begin? Does the self breathe in that screen's glow, or does it dissolve into the flickering crowd? You wait to find your identity refracted in the endless scroll, each swipe layering borrowed postures, catchphrases, and moods. The dizzying paradox. In an age boasting infinite self-expression, the most dominant identity is often the one molded by mass culture, invisible algorithms, and viral trends that whisper, not shout, that you're always already someone else. A puppet with tangled strings you cannot see. Have you noticed how your laughter lands? How your tastes subtly shift? How even your gestures echo those who have never met you, but whose performances flood your consciousness every hour? The more you strive to be authentic, the more you mimic a gallery of reflected selves, the influencer's smile, the activist's rage, the curated chaos of the perfect feed that shapes your moods and yearnings. Is originality a myth? Or is yourself simply borrowing endlessly? The crowd beckons with seductive urgency, offering belonging yet demanding conformity disguised as freedom. On social media, the currency of likes and shares rewards sameness disguised as difference. You post your real self, but find it's measured by how well it fits a mold scripted by collective desires, advertiser strategies, and algorithmic guesses. Your I becomes a marketplace traded in fragments between viral memes and packaged archetypes, each moment reshaping what you believe is uniquely yours. Yet within this sprawling marketplace, a silent fracture creeps in. The deeper you merge with borrowed selves, the more you lose the capacity to know who you are beneath the borrowed face. When you argue, when you love, when you rebel, whose voice carries the weight? Is it you, or the chorus you've absorbed without noticing? The hardest question is this: how much of your inner life is a genuine spark, and how much a reflection of a million others' reflected sparks? The paradox tightens its grip. You long to be unique, but are pulled into sameness. You crave freedom, but surrender it to the comforting patterns fed to you. You grasp for meaning, only to find yourself swimming in the collective tide. In the cacophony of millions of eyes flooding every corner of the digital agora, does any true self emerge? Or is the I just another echo in an endless loop? Pause. Feel the weight of this contradiction. That silent unease creeping beneath your daily habits and digital rituals. The flicker of doubt when your opinions echo trends, your desires reflect curated dreams, your laughter resembles a well-rehearsed act. If your sense of self is partly assembled from other scripts, what does it mean to be you? This question is not mere curiosity. It is urgent because identity is the soil from which all freedom, meaning, and responsibility grow. If the self is borrowed, borrowed becomes the life you live. Your choices, loves, fears, and joys. This realization fractures everything you thought you knew about what it means to be I. So where to go from here? Can you reclaim an I that is yours, in a world that relentlessly sells and recycles selves? Or are you destined to remain a collage of borrowed fragments, a digital ghost wandering through a hall of countless mirrors? Before you answer, hold that tension tightly. The journey to an authentic self is hidden deep beneath these shadows, where psychology, philosophy, and culture collide. The next step is to unveil the roots of this paradox, to see the forces at work underneath the surface of every like, every share, every silent conformity. Are you ready to uncover what lies beneath the borrowed self? To question not just who you are, but who you might become once the noise fades and the masks fall away. The path begins now. You crave clarity, but the roots of the self are tangled in darkness. Beneath every borrowed gesture and echoed phrase, ancient forces press in, some as old as the species, others freshly coded by profit and power. The longing to feel singular is inseparable from the equally primal hunger for belonging. This is the tension that you can't escape the crowd, but you might not survive if you dissolve into it. Psychology points the way to this crossroads. Carl Jung named the collective unconscious, a deep ocean of symbols, instincts, myths, seeded into every mind before choice, beneath language. Even as you strive for uniqueness, your emotions latch on to these archetypes like swimmers clinging to driftwood. The tragic hero, the rebel, the nurturer, the wise fool. TikTok and Instagram simply remaster these ancient codes in slick, addictive loops, trading wisdom for virality. Are your convictions original, or just this century's remix of the ancient script? Schopenhauer's bleak wisdom cuts deeper. What you think of as will is often mere imitation, obedience to forces you never chose. The herd invents comfort, invents gods, invents rules, not from reason, but raw need to avoid loneliness, pain, death. Today's algorithm is just that ancient herd in silicon, learning your preferences, rewarding your mimicry, punishing your anomalies. Conformity is bootstrapped into your nervous system by the thrill of acceptance and the primal sting of rejection. Neurology confirms it. The pain of exclusion lights up the same regions as physical agony. Nietzsche, ever defiant, warned that those without the will to shape themselves become playthings for the will of others. If you find yourself endlessly riposting, arguing others' arguments, filtering your desires until they fit the tribe, you are obeying, not creating. But obedience is not about cowardice. It is embedded at every level, from mirror neurons that reflect others' actions, to cognitive biases like confirmation bias and the bandwagon effect, which pull you toward consensus, away from truth. We are mimetic beings. We want what others want, believe what the tribe prizes, hate what strangers hate. But this mimetic drive can turn toxic, what René Girard called mimetic rivalry, a cycle of envy and conflict, born not from inner need, but from competition over borrowed desires. Social media is gasoline on this fire. Every like fans rivalry. Every viral outrage binds strangers in artificial solidarity and shallow opposition. Modern mass culture codifies these instincts. Where myths once emerged slowly, now brands and platforms manufacture them in days. Aldous Huxley foresaw this. People will come to love their servitude. We are seduced into dreaming other people's dreams, feeling empty when left alone with our own blankness. Jean-Paul Sartre lifts the curtain a moment. Our existence precedes our essence. The self is not found, but made through choice, brutal, lonely, conscious, against the pull of the crowd. But what if the range of possible choices has narrowed to what algorithms predict you will like, what the tribe has already sanctioned, what the script of the age deems authentic? Even rebellion, once a risk, now comes in branded flavors. The market will sell you non-conformity at a markup. And yet Viktor Frankl reminds us, even in the bleakest conditions alone, cut off from every certainty, there is a freedom no crowd, no system, no algorithm can erase. To choose your attitude, to ascribe meaning, to question the script itself. Sit with this discomfort, the knowledge that your inner life is never pure, always shaped, sometimes bent. To deny this is to fall for the oldest illusion, but to see it clearly is to glimpse the possibility of something else. A self neither heir nor hostage to the crowd, capable of meeting the chaos of mass culture with open eyes. Still, the danger deepens. For if you fail to see these roots, psychological, philosophical, societal, you'll keep living with a borrowed mask, taking every borrowed feeling as your own, your life quietly curated by invisible hands. Do you feel it, the pressure in your chest, when you notice how your dreams, your beliefs, even the way you mourn or celebrate, are endlessly rerouted through the expectations, fears, and longings of others? The hidden machinery is everywhere. In every choice you make to fit in, every discomfort avoided, every silence that deepens when you sense your difference. And yet, the story does not end there. This is only the excavation. The real danger and the real possibility lie just ahead, in the consequences you live every day, often without realizing the price you are paying for never asking, is this really me? Or am I just an echo in the labyrinth? What happens when borrowed selves trap you? What is the true cost of never breaking free? The answers await unsettling, urgent. Just beneath the surface, you are finally willing to dig through. Are you ready to see the unseen consequences of a life borrowed, day by day? Let's look honestly at the price of never asking, never breaking free. The consequences of living as a borrowed self are not only subtle, they are woven so seamlessly into your days that you almost never see them until it is too late. At first, it feels like comfort. There's contentment in the warm drift of belonging, in having your opinions mirrored back, your gestures echoed and admired. But beneath that surface, something quietly erodes. Your inner compass grows dull. Indecision becomes your default. Should I want this job? Should I date this person? Should I feel outrage or joy today? You wait for the outside temperature to tell you, because your own weather is silent, unpracticed. Decisions, once made with the risk and joy of ownership, start to feel hollow choices made, above all, to be seen choosing well. Without noticing, you internalize an observer, a phantom audience that shapes how you eat, how you argue, even how you dream. You perform for them, editing yourself until not only your words, but your desires are curated. Eventually, you feel unease in solitude and restlessness in the presence of your own thoughts. Silence becomes intolerable, the absence of notification or applause a threat. Neurologically, your brain becomes wired for the quick reward of approval, not the slow satisfaction of meaningful action. Anesthetized by dopamine from countless micro-hits, likes, swipes, fleeting bursts of affirmation, you are more susceptible to anxiety, to depression, to an ever-narrowing pattern of craving what others crave. The mind that could have wandered, rebelled, painted something new, is trained instead to seek the next predictable high. Socially, relationships flatten. Intimacy becomes performance. Conflict, spectacle. Everyone playing roles, few daring to inhabit reality. Your friendships, even your loves, risk becoming rituals that repeat the tribe's script, comforting but brittle. Empathy shrinks. You struggle to comprehend those outside your bubble, branding dissent as threat rather than curiosity. Whole communities start to fracture along these fault lines, each micro-society algorithmically sharpened until dialogue dies and only mimicry survives. Culture itself loses its edge. The frontier of real creativity, the courage to dissent, dulls beneath an avalanche of remixed, instructor-approved expressions. Trends accelerate. Attention fragments. You carry the ache of sameness disguised as originality, chasing novelty defined not by discovery, but by what has already proven itself to the crowd. Most insidious of all is what you don't feel. Chorusing borrowed outrage, you avoid your own pain. Projecting borrowed joy, you lose touch with the fragile, unpredictable delight of things chosen purely for yourself. Even sadness is processed collectively. Personal sorrow is traded for hashtags, its edge softened in the comfort of a crowd's empathy. The stories you write about your own life, your failures, your triumphs are tailored so they'll be consumable, liked, applauded, shared. Eventually, a quiet fatigue dawns. In rare moments of solitude, the uncomfortable realization creeps in. You don't know why you make the choices you make. You no longer trust your impulses, suspecting they've been infected by what you've absorbed. All your striving for resonance, for belonging, leads here, a self that is thinner, lighter, more fragile than it was meant to be. But there is something redemptive in even this. The silent malaise, the friction of never quite fitting, can itself become a call to awaken. The process of borrowing breaks down. An inner tremor warns you. Your identity has become so permeable that you risk fading entirely into other people's wars, other people's loves, other people's dreams. This recognition carries urgency, but also hope. For only in seeing how deeply you are shaped by the unseen tides, cultural, neurological, psychological, can you begin to resist, to recover, to act. This is the threshold. You feel the weight and the pain, but also the first stirrings of a real inner rebellion. A hunger, not to be applauded, but to be whole. To find beneath all the scripts and echoes, what remains when the borrowed self dissolves? Do you feel it? Not just the consequences, but the possibility they reveal. The possibility of breaking free. The moment arrives quiet but electric, when you're no longer satisfied to drift in the riptide of borrowed selves. The urge to break free becomes a living force, a rebellion not of loud banners, but of focused, ever-renewing disobedience. The first act of liberation is radical attention. You turn the lens inward. Who is making this choice, me, or a phantom audience? Who owns this desire, the self I've never fully met, or the crowd behind every screen? The discipline is subtle and daily. You catch yourself as you reach knee-jerk for your phone. Ask yourself why before you repost. Allow silence to fill you, rather than reflexively sharing each thought. True rebellion begins, not with grand announcements, but with honest attention, a willingness to see where your inner landscape has been quietly colonized. Breaking free is not just negating the crowd, but the creative act of building something real. Throughout history, the iconoclasts, the visionaries, the artists, those who carved their own way, knew it is lonely, exhilarating, and essential to meet yourself on your own terms. Nietzsche's wanderer, turning his back on the comfort of the herd, accepted the pain of isolation in exchange for the possibility of genuine insight. Viktor Frankl found deepest freedom when everything else was taken, a freedom to say yes or no to meaning, even in a world he could not control. These figures remind you that authenticity is not a static possession, but an ever-renewing confrontation with the I, who chooses, who risks, who sometimes stands alone. What does autonomy look like today, in a world engineered to nudge you back into the fold? Sometimes it's as simple as refusing to fill the void with noise, letting yourself be bored, unsettled, alive to your own contradictions. It's seeking out uncertainty, reading what nobody else is reading, questioning what everyone around you assumes. It may mean friendship that disrupts your echo chamber, love that carves you open instead of making you comfortable. It means risking saying, I don't know yet, I'm not sure. I want to try something no algorithm can suggest. True autonomy is not isolation, but the reclamation of agency, wrestling back the authorship of your life. You become curator, not copier. You turn influences into compost, letting borrowed pieces break down until what rises is wholly, weirdly your own. You will learn that discomfort is the price of honesty, that confusion is the soil of transformation. Each act of chosen dissent, however small, fans the ember of your authenticity, lighting the way for others to do the same. There is no promised land, no finished goal. The rebellion is the work itself, lived every day. Some days are easy, most are not. You will slip, mimic, perform. But every honest effort at awareness, each time you question, choose, or simply pause, dents the surface of the borrowed self. In this rebellion, you may sometimes find yourself alone, but you will also begin to recognize others who are awake in the noise, allies not of sameness, but of sincerity. You'll form a new kind of belonging, not built on mimicry, but on the strange and beautiful differences that can only appear when no one is borrowing another's soul. History's freest spirits teach, what matters most is not what you break away from, but what you become by doing so. The world knocks, insistent, offering easy belonging and ready-made identities. You answer carefully, sometimes saying no, sometimes yes, always with the full weight of your own being behind each word. This is how the rebellion begins. Quietly, daily, astonishingly hard, and a little at a time, liberating in a way mass culture can never manufacture. The reward is breathtaking, a self that, at last, is being written from the inside out. When you dedicate yourself truly dedicate to this rebellion, something deep and irrevocable shifts. There comes the most powerful realization, equal parts terrifying and liberating. The ultimate truth is not some pristine, isolated core waiting to be uncovered once all the layers are stripped away. The I has never been some fixed, untouchable relic buried beneath the rubble of influence. You are not a statue rendered inert by borrowed dust. You are a living, evolving process, an endless act of becoming. This is the final paradox. Every attempt to peel away the crowd, to discard the borrowed, changes you. Each act of courage, each moment of honest rebellion, each refusal to conform, doesn't reveal a single true self behind the mask. It forges one, moment by moment, crisis by crisis, question by question. The essence of selfhood is not that you find yourself, but that you make yourself unstably, courageously, anew. You recognize now, influence is not contamination. Every book read, every story heard, every heartbreak, every encounter with another, all become ingredients in the ongoing creation of you. The tragedy is not being influenced. It is never choosing how to metabolize those influences, never standing at the crossroads and saying, "This is what I claim, and this is what I let go." The human soul is not made freer by erecting walls, but by learning to compost the world's offerings into new forms, to transform what is borrowed into something singular and alive. Look again at the world, each person a constellation of old myths and new dreams, fragments and visions, longing and invention. Mass culture and social media may always try to flatten this beauty, to algorithmically predict and package our oddness. But their trap works only as long as you remain passive, as long as you treat your life as a consumer, not a creator. You are not asked to be untouched. You are asked to participate fiercely and vulnerably in the making of meaning. The cells you borrow are not cages, but signposts. Some you outgrow, some you interrogate, some you transform. The work of becoming is never finished product, never a fixed identity to be defended at all costs. The truest I is a verb. This realization is not just philosophical, it's existential. It means that the deepest authenticity is ruthless openness, a willingness to risk not knowing who you are tomorrow, to make and remake yourself amid the world's endless noise. It is a fierce compassion for others and for yourself, knowing that everyone is stumbling through the same labyrinth, borrowing, risking, improvising. You no longer wait yearning for purity, but for engagement. You know your authenticity is not a possession, but a practice, a daily negotiation with culture, with others, with the wild interior of your longing. You live with contradictions, and in that living, you become real. The paradox is no longer a trap. It becomes the invitation. You are haunted, yes, but the haunting is creative. The ghost that pushes you forward, that keeps you unfinished, awake, capable of love. And so, your I is neither borrowed nor pure. It is born and reborn in every conversation, every silence, every risk, every refusal to answer to the algorithm. You do not fear the world's noise, because you have learned to sing your own notes within it. You do not flee mass culture, but shape it, bring to it your questions, your doubts, your unruly vision. This is the cinematic truth, the final scene. The crowd swirls, the world echoes, but you stand imperfect, changing, never quite resolved, utterly alive. Yourself is not what's left after all containing voices are silenced, but what grows as you face them, wrestle with them, and choose again and again to become. There is no meat ending, only the wild, infinite work of living, which no algorithm can script and no crowd can finish for you. The work is yours. The echo is yours to shape. The self unfinished, haunted, luminous begins again, right now.